Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to our AWS update for 2023. We're going to be going through some of the latest news and the latest happenings for AWS. So strap in. It's going to be a quick and bright sort of session. My name is Amber, and this here on the screen is Jana. And together we're behind these AWS update sessions. We do them for Salesforce and Azure as well. So check out those if you're interested. Our agenda today is for news headlines and then some technical features and then some upcoming events and dates. So just going to jump straight in. January news headlines. Here we go. Amazon spending $35 billion on a data center expansion plan in Virginia. Another 18,000 job cuts. Yikes. AWS plans $4.4 billion investment in India, and AWS grabs maps to its cloud location services. So let's take a look at each of these in a little more detail. Starting with this $35 million data center expansion. Excuse me, it is not 35 million, it is 35 billion over the next 17 years to expand its data center campus across Virginia. I think this is just, showing how big Amazon is getting and will continue to grow. And this is interesting if you are thinking about moving to the States. If you're in the States, then you'll notice that Virginia really is developing into this new mega data center incentive program, which allows companies to have up to 15-year extension of data center sales and use tax exemptions. So there's a lot going on there with Virginia, and they're trying to attract a lot of data centers to the state. So in 2018, Amazon announced that Northern Virginia would be home to its second headquarters, known as HQ2, and eventually employ more than 25,000 employees, which is a lot. So if you're interested in data center work, if you are thinking about working at Amazon, then know that HQ2, it's going to be in Virginia. That's where it's all planned, and the money is going in. On the flip side, there's been another 18,000 jobs cut from Amazon. This is after they laid off around 10,000 employees at the end of last year. So this round of layoffs is primarily targeted at retail, human resources, and their comic book service. It's seen also quite a few full-time AWS employees laid off too, but the cuts really seem to be primarily impacting members of the recruiting team, and this kind of follows on from the hiring freeze that was happening in November last year, and then the expected hiring slowdown in 2023. So it kind of makes sense, but it also does suck. Then flipping back to some investment. So AWS is planning $4.4 billion investment in India. AWS is going to invest in its 3 hyper data center campuses all around India in different phases. I am not going to try and pronounce the names of the cities. I'm so sorry. I would just make a terrible hash of it. But these centers are designed to help AWS strengthen its cloud infrastructure to better serve its Indian and its overseas clients. And all 3 data centers have completed their initial phases. So I'm going to give it a go. Hyderabad has been a preferred destination for Amazon in India, and it is the largest campus in the world. So I actually, included a picture of this. It's over 9.7 acres, the largest AWS office in the world, and has 15,000 plus employees. It is just a mega structure. It's huge. So they're really pouring more into this and more into India as well. AWS grabs maps to its cloud location services. So Grab is kind of like Uber, but it's very widely used in Southeast Asia. And Grab's Maps has been added to the Amazon location service. So this just gives developers a whole new data source for Southeast Asia, maps, search, routing, all of that good stuff. So developers, if you are building applications in Southeast Asia, or if you're from Southeast Asia, then you can display your data there on a local up-to-date map that's specifically designed for that region, and then use search boxes to locate end user addresses and points of interest, and then calculate those routes using real-time traffic. So it's really an upgrade. It can be very tricky, or it had been very tricky to get up-to-date maps for this region. So sorted. Thank you, Grab. Some technical features, 4 awesome new features that are new or coming up of January 2023. Let's have a look. Ooh, yeah. Number 1, Sim Space Weaver. Sim Space Weaver is really interesting. It's a managed option to run real-time spatial simulations across EC2 instances. Now, what does this actually mean? It means that it's able to simulate really large-scale scenarios. So think about cities, think about crowds, just really, really big ones where there's hundreds of thousands or millions of different independent entities that could all be doing different random things. How on earth do you simulate this? It takes an awful lot of processing power. And Sim Space Weaver, I'd like to think, named after Sims, is kind of the best thing that we have to mimic and simulate these large real world environments. So there's a lot of interesting use cases for this, but some of them, include city managers testing how a natural disaster might hit the city and how their response systems would work. Event planners could use this to understand the impact of a large sporting event, how it's going to impact the traffic of the day, of the time. And developers who are building with the Unreal Engine 5 or Unity, they can absolutely be using SimSpace Weaver for their out-of-the-box plugins to jumpstart their projects that are using very large spaces. I think this is super cool. If you're interested, then you can do a quick start here. You can just look up quick start SimSpace Weaver and you'll find it, but it's got these different steps. So, creating a project, turning on logging, running the quick start script, get your IP address and port number, view your simulation, then stop and clean up your simulation. I think this is really exciting. There's some very cool things here, and it can be used across a bunch of different industries, from governance to architecture to event planning to army simulations even. I think that there's a lot that this could be used for. So having a good understanding of it, or at least knowing how it works, I think is really a cool thing to do this coming year. The Application Composer, also a new, very interesting tool that's come out. So this is a drag and drop sort of interface where you can create your AWS architecture by just dragging components from the left side of this resources onto this canvas-like page and then connecting them together. And I think this is a very interesting cycle that we see around developing tools or technology, and then it gets so complicated that you almost have to add this layer of abstraction to it. And I think that's what we're seeing here with AWS. And then over time, that abstraction actually becomes the skill in itself until that gets too complicated, and then you have to do another layer of abstraction on that. And I think we've seen this all the way from machine code, right up to where we are now with this Application Composer with AWS. So very interesting here. I think it's going to open up AWS architecture for a lot more people. AWS Clean Rooms. This was announced very recently as well. It's a new analytics service that helps users to easily collaborate on their combined data sets without actually sharing or even revealing any of the underlying data. So this is where users are wanting to collaborate with a bunch of different companies or different users or entities on their data, but they don't want to be sharing or revealing that data. So how on earth do you solve this problem? That's where AWS Clean Rooms comes in. And I think it's going to hopefully allow for a lot more collaboration between companies without worrying about the risk or the, it's not that you wouldn't worry about it, but it will help to really smooth this process and make it so that you can collaborate with people faster and better. And encryption of S3 by default. Honestly, not too much to say here except for seems like a very logical thing to do. So S3 will now be automatically applying server-side encryption for each new object from the 5th of January onwards, unless you otherwise specify a different encryption option. So well done, AWS. Good job. Some key dates and events, some events that are happening next month, and then some global events that are coming up. So events next month, this is in February. So I've just included one for February 3rd, February 9th, and February 23rd. Obviously, there's way more than this. This is just a small selection of the overall events that they have. But to give you a bit of an idea of the range, we've got an AWS Cloud Practitioner Essentials Day. If you are interested in getting certified, then this is a really good day to do. It's 8 hours. Job roles in the cloud. As you can see in the description, you'll be learning about typical entry-level jobs in the cloud, and you'll be introduced to some basic entry concepts like cloud-based services and physical networks and such. And then this AWS Discovery Day on machine learning basics. If you're interested in machine learning, I think that there's obviously some very cool tools for this in AWS. So if you're wanting to learn more about that, this is a very low effort way to see what's going on, get involved a bit. It's only 2 hours, and this particular event is on February 23rd. But please go and check out more events. There's heaps there going on. Just a bunch of awesome free content for you to find. And then global events, we have AWS reInvent. This is for the global cloud computing community. And this will be around November this year. Then we have the AWS Summit. This is from May to October. They're not too sure. Location depending. And then AWS, I was going to say AWS Awesome Day. This is an online conference. It's more of a training sort of event, and that's to be confirmed. So not many concrete dates yet, but it is only January, so hopefully we'll see some more specifics arriving around these big global events. Otherwise, thank you so much for joining us. It's been an absolute blast. We will be back next month with another update. Otherwise, I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day and that you just enjoy learning about some AWS stuff. It's a cool world. We'll see you guys next time. Bye for now.